Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches, and this week we have 9 incredible watches for you guys and girls, including something amazing with Rolex, a beautiful Zenith El Primero, which certainly is going to be for many of you guys and girls, I suspect, including a Rolex Submariner, a vintage Citizen Eagle 7 where it all started for me at Kibble Watches, and so many others that I really can't wait to dive into. And as always, I want to say a big thank you. Another fantastic week, and each week is getting better and better, which, considering everything going on in the world really, and the economy, I think we can't complain too much. You guys and girls seem to still be wanting to buy and sell lots of watches, so I want to thank you all very, very much. And next week we have some incredible things coming as well. One thing I can already discuss is a Vanta Black H. Moser, so keep an eye out for that coming soon. Very, very cool piece, and I know it's going to really be for someone out there who wants that exact watch, so keep an eye out. But before we dive into the watches on the table, what's on wrist? I'm wearing my 1969 Rolex Oyster Precision, or Oyster Date Precision 6694, a really great watch, one I absolutely love and adore. It's on its original rivet bracelet, and this one comes with its box and papers and is not for sale. From this watch, we've actually sold quite a few 669s because people have seen this and gone, actually, that case size, that proportion, that look is really great for the money. So yeah, we're always keeping an eye out for good examples of these, so we will, well, you'll see them as they come, that's for sure. But yeah, that is all of the rambling out of the way, and now we're going to crack on to what you're here to see, and that is obviously the watches. We're going to start with a incredible Rolex Laureato. Some of you will remember we had one on the website. That was a 2018. This is actually a 2022, and complete set, incredible condition, and super cheap. When I say that, you will be able to see the price on the website, compare everywhere else. I think we're probably one of the cheapest in the world. So I would say snap this up if you're in the market for one. So let's take a closer look. So starting off this week's episode with the Rolex Laureato in 42mm and blue, probably the most desirable of this configuration. Apologies for the phone buzzing in the background there. Let me mute that. There we go. So this, I won't bore you the reference. You can go see that on the website. But this watch came out quite a while ago now. I want to say 2016 or 17. It could be 18. I could be wrong on all that. But the one you're looking at right now in my hand is from 2022, specifically September. And it is in fantastic condition. It has been worn. It is in worn condition, but it's in very, very good overall condition. All links are included. And it comes obviously with the latest Rolex box and paperwork, as you'd expect. As we flip it over, the movement you see beating away inside there, which is beautifully decorated, is the automatic Rolex caliber GP01800. Workhorse movement that they use in a few of their different models, and I think works beautifully here on the Laureato, which obviously features a date with a backed date window in blue to match. I wish more brands did this. It's these subtle details that I think Rolex have got spot on. And at this price point, you really cannot go wrong. It is a huge amount off of RRP. And even at retail, for an integrated sports watch with history in this kind of grouping, I think is very, very fair. Especially when you see what the new IWC Engineer has been retailed at. I still think this is a great catch. Again, if you're in the market for this kind of thing, and if you like this kind of thing, which I certainly do. So let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go, paired comfortably on my 7-inch wrist. What a good looking watch this is. And again, it just looks so nice. 42mm by 49mm lug to lug, 11mm thick and 15mm at the lugs, which is here, tapering out to about 22 and then tapering all the way back down. It works really well on wrist, and again, a huge amount of watch for the money and a huge look for the money as well, that's for sure. So go check it out on the website today. From there, over to a Rolex Submariner, an absolute classic 16610. This one's from 1990 with its box and paperwork and a recent Rolex service all to go with it. So go check this one out, but let's take a closer look. Now on to the Rolex Submariner, an absolute classic. This is the 16610, the classic 5-digit Rolex Submariner reference with a date. Without a date, it's the 14060. And it really comes down to what you personally prefer, the date or no date. I'm constantly torn, and whenever I put the date on, that's the one I like. Whenever I put the no date on, that's the one I like. So to be honest with you, I think they're both fantastic in their own right. and I could imagine both being in a collection, to be honest. I know a couple of people who have both. That might sound crazy to some of you out there, but when you have them in person, it kind of makes sense. So what you're looking at is original tritium dial, tritium handset, and this is a latest service bezel. The bracelet is also a service bracelet, still nice and early. I want to say 2002. I'll have to double check. But what you're looking at is a watch from 1990 with a service bracelet, 11 links total, and a service bezel, but original tritium dial and hands, and that's where it matters. This one's from October 1990 with its original paperwork and its original box, and as I say, a recent Rolex service, which you can see all the details for on the website as well. Inside is the automatic Rolex caliber 3135, and that's behind the closed case back as you'd expect. The watch does feature its dive extension, which as always on these are a tad loose and they do come open, but obviously once you've got it fastened on wrist, it's locked in place by the clasp and it's not going anywhere, so you haven't got to worry about it. However, when you open it, don't be alarmed if it does come open like so. It's not a problem as long as you put it back in and close it up. There you go. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go on my 7-inch wrist. There's a reason these are so popular, because they are so classic, so universal, and so versatile. You could wear this with absolutely anything and it does look good. And also it is a true tool watch, you know, not that it's used as much anymore for that reason, because of how expensive they've become relative to where they used to be. But I still think you could totally do a lot of activities with this watch and be perfectly fine. So what you're looking at is 40mm by 47mm lug to lug, 12.5mm thick and 20mm on the lugs. Endless options for swapping out. You do have drilled lug holes, so you can swap it out if you like. Personally, I prefer them on the bracelet, but there's some great fitted rubber options out there as well. So go check out this watch on the website today. Now to a Zenith Chronomaster Revival with the El Primero. This is a US Liberty edition, or limited edition, I should say, with the really awesome red and white accents. I think this is a really good looking watch, and actually I would argue one of the best blues on the Zenith currently, and I think when we flip the camera, a lot of you are probably going to agree with that. So let's take a closer look. So next up, the Zenith Chronomaster Revival A384, which is in reference to the case shape and the model, and this is the US Liberty limited edition of 150 pieces, which is, I would say, a true limited edition when it comes to a major brand like Zenith. You know, when we look at Omega limited editions, it's usually in the 2000s, if not more. So 150, I would say, is a true limited edition. But as I was talking about in the intro, this blue dial is incredible. It is probably, I would say, one of the nicest blues I've seen. It gradients out to the outside to a darker hue than the inside, but it's ever so slight, and it really works with the white, contrasting white subdials. And you've obviously got a date over there, which is just useful. Very interesting second hand. It will either be for you or it won't, and that's completely fine. As I say, I won't bore you with the reference, super long reference, but as we flip it over, what you're seeing right there is a automatic Zenith El Primero caliber 400, a well-known, well-used movement that is used across the board in many of their calibers. One thing to keep note of is the first position is your changing of time, and the second position is actually your changing of date. So if you're not paying attention, you're going really quick, just be careful, because you will change the date. Not that it's that difficult to change back, but just so you know. And obviously you can manually wind it, it's automatic, you know, all the bells and whistles. This one's from October 2021, does come with its box and paperwork and is in great condition. Again, used, but used very, very lightly. So let's show it on wrist and talk dimension. Here we go on my 7-inch wrist. There is no denying the proportions and size of this watch is perfect. At the end of the day, I'm massively biased because I love Zenith, but this is perfect on the wrist. 37mm by 46.5mm, 12.5mm thick, and 20mm on the lugs. You really can do an awful lot with this watch, and I think this isn't going to hang around long, so go check it out and come book a viewing if you want to see it in person. Now onto a watch, a brand that we have sold multiple of, but we very rarely see at Kibble watches, and it's just because they don't come up that often, surprisingly. This is a Frederic Constant classic moon phase in rose gold or rose gold plated with a very cool Hunter case back, which we'll take a closer look at. A really great looking watch, and again, value for money when you consider a true moon phase, this kind of design. I think it's fantastic, so let's take a closer look. Next up, the Frederic Constant, or Constant, however you want to pronounce it, if you want to pronounce it properly. You have the moon phase down there at 6 o'clock with a date indicator around the outside. Really gorgeous rose gold tone, which matches beautifully with the dial, which is this silver white color. It just looks really, really good. Nice crown and case back, as you can see, completely plain, but you'll see a little lip here. If we push that open, you will see a hunter style exhibition case back, which I think is really attractive and a nice little throwback to how watches or pocket watches specifically used to be made. It is a good looking movement inside as well. This is the automatic Frederick Constant Caliber FC700. This watch is from January 2016 with its box and paperwork paired on its original strap with its original buckle, as you can see. You really can't go wrong. You know, these aren't particularly cheap because they are a very reliable movement and they've put a lot of work into that movement as well. So you are paying a premium for that privilege. You decide whether that premium is worth paying or not, but when it comes from a design perspective, they do look fantastic. And they're on slightly the larger size as well, so if you like that classic vintage styling, but want something quite a bit bigger and a bit more wrist presence, this might do the trick for you. But they show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go, on my 7-inch wrist, that is a lot of watch for the money when it comes to looks and design, there's no question about it. So 40mm by 47mm lug to lug, 12mm thick, and 20mm on the lug, so you can swap it out if you wish. However, the brown goes perfectly with the rose gold, and this looks great whether it be against a suit or t-shirt and jeans or something really casual like I'm wearing today. It just works. So go check it out on the website today. From a classic to something that you're either going to absolutely love or you're really going to not like, and that is a Bamford limited edition with Hodinkee, and this is the Peanuts GMT, a very, very cool looking watch, and again, won't be for everyone, but as far as watches go, like case wise, everything design, it really is fantastic. It just comes down to whether you like Peanuts and Snoopy that much, so let's take a closer look. So next up we have the Bamford GMT, and this is a limited edition collaboration with Hodinkee for, as you can see, Peanuts, Joe Preppy right there, Snoopy edition. Very, very cool. Again, you either love this kind of thing or you don't. In my opinion, it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I think this industry, we often take it so seriously all the time, and sure, it can be very serious, but I think a little bit of fun every now and again can go a long way, and this definitely does that for most people, I would say. You have an inner rotating bezel, which can be maneuvered via the crown right here, and traditional setup with the crown over here to change the time as we go around, and you can change the GMT and date. So GMT that way, dates the opposite way, as you can see. Nice and simple. So what's powering that is the automatic Sellita SW330-2. This is a limited edition of 250 pieces, and as always, it's sold out pretty much immediately with Hodinkee, and they are trading at a slight premium. Surprise, surprise, just letting you know. So this is April 2022 with its box and paperwork, sold in unworn condition, still stickered, and the box and paperwork is really cool, so make sure you check that out. The photo on the website, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I'll leave that as a little thing to get you over there to have a look. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimension. And there we go, rested against my 7-inch wrist. That is a cool looking watch. The proportions of this case in general with the Bamford GMT I think are fantastic. So this is 40.5mm by 46.5mm lug to lug, 12mm thick and 20mm lug. So as always, endless options, but I would be keeping it on this pairing because I think that matches it very nicely. So go check this one out on the website today. From there, over to a watch that has really, really surprised me. This is the Isotope Hydrium Alba, as it's called, Scottish Watches Limited Edition. A watch that at retail is fantastic value, and I had no idea they were actually that affordable retailed. Obviously, this is all relatively speaking, under £1,000 I would consider in this kind of watch world affordable for most people. This, when it becomes pre-owned like this, it's undeniable how cool this is, and again, the design is fantastic. It's one that's really taken me by surprise, to be honest. So let's take a closer look at this one. Next up is a watch, as I say, that really surprised me. This is the Isotope Hydrium Alba Scottish Watches limited edition of 100 pieces total. This is a very early number in that 100 pieces, and they did a batch of 50 to begin, and they have another batch of 50 coming available soon, so you can still order it on their website. I believe retail is around £940, and you're making a nice saving on this one, that's for sure. You have a really cool black bezel with a very faint blue dot over there at 12 o'clock. Really gorgeous blue on the dial. Overall, just a very good looking watch. I really like the case proportions, the case size, screw down crown, very interesting case back. and this one has been very lightly used. I won't bore you with the reference, you can see it on the website. And interestingly, they've used a Landeron movement. So inside here is the automatic Landeron caliber 24, and this one's from February 2023 with its box and paperwork, paired on its original isotope blue rubber Tropic, which I think looks really good. But they show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist, as you can see, a very, very cool looking watch. I do really like this one. So what you are looking at in terms of dimensions is 39.5, just under 40mm by 47.5mm lug to lug. It is 15mm thick, so it is on the thicker side, but it still wears surprisingly well, and 22mm on the lugs. So yeah, endless options, although I would probably be keeping it on this. I think it looks really cool. So go check this one out on the website today. From there over to a Grand Seiko from 2014, so quite an early one. This is the Grand Seiko Self-Data from the Classical Heritage, or the Historical Collection, I should say, accurately. Really, really good looking watch, and again, very, very classic Grand Seiko vibes, with Seiko on the dial, because obviously 2014. I kind of like that, not everyone does, but a really great watch. Let's take a closer look. So Grand Seiko time with this gorgeous Grand Seiko Historical Collection Self-Data, as it's called, harping back to a vintage Grand Seiko. In the lineup, a really, really beautiful classic Grand Seiko, in my opinion. All the design elements and everything that you come to expect from Grand Seiko. This one is paired on its bracelets, which does look really great. Its original strap is provided, but it is quite heavily worn, just so you know. And this was a limited edition of 900 pieces, and this one's from June 2014 with its box and paperwork. Inside is the Seiko Caliber 9F82 Grand Seiko Quartz, and the reference to this one is the SBGV011. A great watch. They did it in white as well, which is also a really good looking watch. But I think if you're after sort of a quintessential Grand Seiko design, something under the radar as well, with Seiko still stated on the dial, then look no further. I think you've found it right here. But let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go, paired on my 7-inch wrist. Very, very nice proportions at 37mm by 43.5mm lug to lug, 9.5mm thick, and 19mm on the lug. So endless options for this one. Worth checking out on the website today. From there to a Christopher Ward C65 Dartmouth. This is a Series 1 in black, a great watch, chronometer spec, just really, really well built. Proportions are fantastic. I think these C65s, the way they wear on wrist is really great, and you'll see that when we get onto the wrist in the next part. So let's take a closer look at this watch. Next up, the Christopher Ward C65 Dartmouth Series 1 in black. This Series 1 range is now discontinued. A very, very cool looking piece, and what you have inside is the automatic Zenith SW200, but it is chronometer certified, as proudly stated on the dial, and it comes with its chronometer certificate. This one's from January 2023 with its box and paperwork, paired on its original bracelet, all spare links included, and a great case back as well, as you can see. Royal Navy with a number. The Dartmouth has done very, very well for them, and I think is a range that a lot of people really like. It actually sells, I would say this is probably one of the better sellers when it comes to pre-owned of Christopher Ward's, as in the ratio from retail to pre-owned price isn't as large as some of the other models. That's just from what we've experienced selling these. But really great proportions as well at 41mm, which we'll show on wrist just now. So let's have a look. And there we go, comfortably on my 7-inch wrist. You're looking at 41mm by 47mm lug to lug, 11.5mm thick, and 22mm on the lugs. A great looking watch, great proportions, and a hell of a lot of spec for the money, that's for sure. So go check it out on the website today. And last but by definitely no means least, the Citizen Eagle 7 two-tone in steel and yellow gold plated with a white dial. A lot of you know Citizen Eagle 7s is where it began for me. If you go all the way back, I wouldn't recommend this, but if you go all the way back in the videos, you'll see very early videos, probably 5+ years, 6 years ago maybe now, of me talking about these watches, picking them up for around £15 on eBay. Those days are long gone, but the quality and the value is still definitely there, so let's take a closer look. And finally, a trip down memory lane with the Citizen Eagle 7. Really great lineup from the 70s. These watches came out. We had a few things. You had the Orient 3-star, the Seiko 5, and the Citizen Eagle 7. All these were Japanese watches made around the same time by obviously different companies, but it feels like they sort of played along a little bit, 3, 5, and 7. I could be wrong. They all had their reasons for that, which I'm sure you can find online. Why it was 3, why it was 5, and why it was 7. But either way, cool little bit of history, and this is a really cool example in steel and yellow gold plating. with a white dial. You've got 36mm, so similar to the Datejust, with a day date feature. Very functional as well. Inside is the automatic Miyota caliber 8200A, a very reliable, well-used movement across many watches, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, is still used in some watches today. That's how good of a watch it is, a movement it is. And this one is from circa 1980, no box or paperwork as you'd expect, and it is priced to fly, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is gone before this video ever even makes it up. So let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And there we go, on my 7-inch wrist, very, very comfortable and very good looking. 36mm by 44mm lug to lug, only 10mm thick and 20mm on the lugs. It's going to look great on a leather strap if the two-tone is a bit too much for you, but a very cool watch. So go check it out on the website today. So there you have it, guys and girls. 9 awesome watches, really varied as always, and really something unique, something you don't see every day. I don't think I've seen many videos, if any, about isotope. And again, it's kind of what we want. Well, it's definitely what we want to do and have been doing here at Kibble Watches, bringing the variety, bringing the selection, and showing you guys and girls something new that isn't just another Rolex. And there's nothing wrong with the Rolex. As you see, we have a fantastic one on the table today, and I'm wearing one on wrist. But every now and again, it's nice to really change things up and show you something that's just fresh, and that's what we're all about. So thank you all very much for watching. We look forward to seeing you next week. As I say, unless it sells in the meantime, we have an incredible Moser coming to the website, which I think is going to blow a lot of you away, so keep an eye out for that. We'll see you all again next time. Take care.